Looks like I'm live. We need to save the US Postal Service, and that's why I'm here to talk about it. I'm Bernie Bro. We, the American people, we're not really oppressed by the big, bad, tyrannical government like you hear a lot of the conservative pundits say. I mean, there's shit that I hate that uh, our government practice and do to the American people and do to others abroad. I mean, that's why I got such a loudmouth politically, because I'm always complaining about what the American government's doing. I hate it when the American government invades countries that did nothing to us. I hate it when we have an American government that surveillance the American population in the form of national security. Um, I hate it that the government takes our tax money and do things that I don't like our tax money to be doing on the federal level, like building nuclear arms and chemical weapons and biological weapons, or using the funds to to launch, cruel um, coups against governments that blink at us the wrong way, using our tax money to torture. Um, as I said, to build arms, to have a bloated military budget when no country on earth has arsenals the size of us. That's the kind of that's the kind of shit I hate that our government likes to do. Um, on a federal and even on state levels, I hate it that my tax money pays for things like private prisons and the death penalty. When the government's doing shitty things to the people, that's where I oppose government and oppose it hard. I am as a hardcore about opposing what government do against the American people and against innocent people abroad, and even pieces of shit abroad that still is inappropriate for the United States to go and respond to. I will be as anti-status and anti-government as any libertarian out there. Um, but the problem is that when our government tries to do benevolent or good things, unfortunately, there are people out there that tries to put a stop to it. Um, the public services that we have, what I call the New Deal consensus, that pretty much evaporated the past 40 some years, is it's a sad day for us. George Will said Franklin Roosevelt saved capitalism from itself, and he was correct. Former Prime Minister Harold Macmillan of Great Britain in the 1950s says, "You never had it so good," which was his version of George Will's comment toward FDR here. But in Harold Macmillan's mindset, and I am inclined to agree with him. Even though he was a Tory, a conservative, he basically complimented the British Labour government of Clement Attlee for reforms that saved Britain from itself after World War II. Um, Selective nationalization of industry, the welfare state, and of course, the National Health Service. And Britain's better off, especially for the welfare state and the National Health Service. Um, for that, brings me to this point. I don't hate Ronald Reagan like I used to, because it took a George W. Bush to make me stop hating on Reagan so much. But I still have enough resentment against Reagan to say this. Um, Ronald Reagan ended what was called the New Deal consensus, that the government's there to help people. He claimed the government is the problem. And because of that mindset, and basically because he busted the air traffic controllers, the union, the air traffic control unions in 1981, plus all these aggressive tax cuts for the wealthy, de-emphasizing or vilifying welfareism, that not only did it turn the Republican Party further and further to the right, and let's face it, they are off their rails. They are so far to the right, and unfortunately, they have been so successful that they were able to take the Democrats. And every time the Republican Party draws a line, they go and cross that line, and they're sitting there ready to play patty cake with the Republicans. So Reaganized the Democratic Party. And it brings me to what I'm about to say about the US Postal Service. And I need to quote Brianna Joy Gray, who was the press secretary during the Bernie Sanders 2020 campaign, when she said, "I wish that the Democratic Party would consolidate around a plan to build Americans' families and save the post office as efficiently as they stopped Bernie Sanders." Our postal service is about to disappear. And I know I hear jokes all the time about the U.S. Postal Service. Oh, the Postal Service, they're so slow, they can't, it's a long line at the post office. Oh, gosh, look at them. They're just taking their time delivering our mail. Ugh. I'm 51 years old. I've never had problems with the U.S. Postal Service at all. I have a P.O. box across town. Not ever had a problem with it with them. I mean, yeah, the lines are long. I mean, yeah, lines are going to be long in a lot of places. Grocery lines are long. Okay, you can go pay. You pay the water bill. It's long. You pay your cable bill. It's long. Long lines exist. But somehow, if it's a government building or it's in a public institution, local, state, federal, it's bad. But then when your bank line is long, or your grocery line is long, or if you're paying your cable bill, or you're at McDonald's and the line is long, oh, that's fine. That's fine. But if it's in the public sector, it's bad. It's bad. The postal service is not a bad thing, and it just irks me that we went from trying to curb the excesses of government to actually trying to evaporate all the public good government can do for the people. I mean, I remember when Newt Gingrich and his mob took over Congress in 1994 with his contract on America. I'm never ever going to respect Newt Gingrich and never going to respect that phrase, contract with America. It was a contract on America. Basically, they were talking about things, and they're fucking hypocrites, because I wanted to go with term limits first. They bitched and moaned. Republicans bitch and moan, and they were actually right to want term limits. Even when I was a partisan Democrat, I favor term limits. I favor term limits when I turn into a radical socialist. And today, as a 51-year-old independent social democrat, I still favor term limits. Yeah, term limits will when it's utilized long enough, it will get rid of some good people, people I think would be good people. I mean, we had term limits. I mean, it would definitely be the end of Bernie Sanders when he's up for re-election. And I would not want to get rid of Bernie Sanders, but I'm principled enough that we need to have term limits, or any other member of the U.S. Senate or any other member of the U.S. House that I would happen to like, that's been there for quite a while. Term limits is okay, but here's the thing: when the Republicans took over Congress in 1995, no longer did they ever talk about term limits again. I hear ordinary Republicans talk about it, and they're right to favor term limits, but Congressional Republicans, they're not for term limits anymore. They were when it was their partisan narrative. And I think it's quite foolish that the Democrats do not favor term limits at this point for their own partisan reason. At least with me, I've always been consistent. Um, I've always been consistent about term limits. But anyway, getting back to Newt Gingrich and his mob, they came in 1995, and they forced Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was already conservative enough as it is, but they forced Bill Clinton to do even more ultra conservative things like the welfare reform deformed that took place in 1996. Throwing people off benefits after 2 years, that and things of that nature, and doing it without actually having concrete, effective ways to have welfare reform to actually get people off of welfare. And I've always said that one of the best ways to get people off of welfare is to make having a job more profitable for the average man or woman than being on welfare. And that means you'll have to raise wages, and you'll have to have a living wage, and you'll have to have a living wage with health benefits. And you need to create an incentive, not just get rid of it of welfare and everybody works at minimum wage jobs, where if the Republicans had it their way, they'd get rid of the minimum wage. Um, you have this with repealing Glassman-Steagall, which created casino capitalism that led to the economic housing bubble of 2007, 2008. Um, Back in the 1990s, they were talking about privatizing courts, privatizing prisons, which we do have a private prison industrial complex problem in this country. And they're around the country, they have been privatizing, state hospitals. I mean, it's bad enough we don't have a national healthcare system and be a normal social democracy like in Europe and other Western nations. We are privatizing hospitals. The Citizens United Supreme Court decision, I believe in 2012 it was, where basically, a corporation is considered a human being. And now they want to privatize the US Postal Service. We do not need to privatize the US Postal Service, and there are several reasons why. Yep, it's true. As a social democrat, I love guaranteed jobs and job security and protections and tenure. Now, yeah, I'm wholeheartedly for tenure for public school teachers and college professors. I am for seniority being protected, and I'm for protection of all people that it kind of exists in the public sector for employees. And even unionized jobs in the private sector where it is kind of difficult to fire somebody, even a shitty employee. And the reason I'm for that, I'm glad we have those measures protected in those areas, is because in a non-union environment, anybody can fire you for any reason. I live in North Carolina. Not only we're a right to work state, we're an at will employment state, meaning that with at will, which is actually worse than right to work, is that an employer can fire somebody for any reason they want. You could just not look the way somebody wants to look, and they can fire you. And the person being fired has no recourse to defend his or herself. But getting back to the Postal Service, and we need to protect the U.S. Postal Service because they do an efficient job delivering our mail. They do. The what right now the Forever stamp costs 55 cents. It's a wonderful idea to have the Forever stamp. You buy it at whatever price you buy it at the moment, and you can use it whenever you can use it 20 years from now theoretically, and it'll still work. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about the U.S. Postal Service, the way it exists now. Let's say you live in 123 Main Street, bumfuck, whatever state, USA, and you want to go and deliver your letter to across the country to across the country, to the West Coast or the East Coast, wherever you're at. Let's say you live in 123 Main Street, uh, Bumfuck, North Carolina, and you want to mail a letter to 123 Bumfuck Street in Los Angeles, California. It will cost you 55 cents to mail that letter. It'll also cost you 55 cents to mail the letter from 123 Main Street, Bumfuck, North Carolina, to 124 Main Street, Bumfuck, North Carolina. Or it'll cost you 55 cents to mail a letter from 123 Main Street, Bumfuck, California, to 1234 Main Street, Bumfuck, Main Street, California. But you know what I'm getting at. If you want to mail a letter next door, it costs you 55 cents. You want to mail it across the country, it'll cost you 55 cents, and vice versa, and versa visa. You privatize the US Postal Service. Do you know what will happen? That 55 cents to mail it across the country will probably turn into $5. But then again, we live in a country that would probably shit a brick if the U.S. Postal Service raised the forever stamp from 55 cents to 57 cents. But we don't say anything when private insurance raise our premiums or ATM machines raise our little fees. For some reason, that's okay. That's capitalism. But if the U.S. Postal Service raise it up 2 cents, that's the tyrannical government. This is the kind of mentality we deal with, and it's totally sad, folks. I also, as I said, I want to save those good paying union jobs. And to the people who work at the Postal Service, you have my respect, and I love what you do, and you do a good job. And I certainly appreciate y'all. I do. I have more appreciation for the average U.S. Postal Service than I do for the CEO of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, or the Walton family that runs Walmart, or the predators that runs the insurance companies, and the predators and the monsters that run big oil. But for some reason, we don't go after those predators. But we're going to sit there and bitch and moan about the postal workers not doing their job properly. They do their jobs properly, folks. They go every day. They bring letters and packages to your house under unusually bad weather at times, having to face, vicious dogs, um, and and sometimes they're getting bitched at by customers because it's not there, like within some of these people have an unreasonable expectations of when things come about. And as I said, I've never had any problems with the Postal Service at all. I mean, but as I said, you have corporate special interests in this country that have been in control of our government and control of both parties actually all these years, and they want public institutions to be shoddy, and that's why schools are underfunded. That's why the Postal Service is understaffed. That's why there are long lines at the DMV. And again, I'm going to say going to the Department of Motor Vehicles is a pleasant experience, but I can't say it's necessarily miserable either. But these institutions are needed, and this whole radical economic libertarianism of privatizing everything is really disturbing. I mean, you got. I even hear some people talking about privatizing roads and privatizing. I mean, you take it to a extreme conclusion. People will be bottling up oxygen and selling it. But I want you all to think of what I said, and remember, to do what you can to spread the word to save our postal service. And please contact your member of Congress, your U.S. House of Representative, if you think he or she may listen, or if you have a U.S. Senator that you think he or she may be sympathetic. And even if they're not, let them know anyway. Even if they're hardcore Tea Party right wingers, let them know that you want the U.S. Postal Service to be saved. Let them know that the U.S. Postal Service needs to be saved for the public good of this country. And you can do that by calling them up at 202-224-3121. I'm going to repeat that number, and it's down on the screen here. The phone number is 202-224-3121. Do what you can. Let's save the U.S. Postal Service. I'm Bernie Bro. Feel free to subscribe and comment away, and let your friends know about this page. I'm here to say adios, and I'll see you next time.